The Black communities that are under lakes, the tragic consequence of dam construction. The construction of dams has been a common practice in the United States for over a century. Dams provide many benefits, including flood control, hydroelectric power, and irrigation. However, the construction of dams has had a devastating impact on many communities, particularly African American communities that were forced to relocate when their homes and land were flooded to create reservoirs. Many of these communities were already marginalized due to segregation and discrimination, and the construction of dams only compounded their struggles. Today, the memories of these lost communities are preserved only through oral histories, photographs, and old newspaper articles. One of the most prominent examples of this tragedy is the town of Rittersville, Pennsylvania. Rittersville was a thriving African American community that was located along the banks of the Lehigh River. In 1962, the construction of the Francis E. Walter Dam began, and the town was flooded to create the reservoir. Over 100 families were forced to relocate, and many lost their homes and businesses. Rittersville is just one of many examples of African American communities that were lost due to dam construction. In fact, it is estimated that more than 100 African American communities were destroyed or displaced by dam construction in the 20th century alone. One of the most tragic aspects of this history is that many of these communities were self-sufficient and prosperous. They had their own businesses, churches, and schools, and they were tightly knit communities that had survived for generations. The construction of dams not only destroyed homes and businesses but also disrupted the social fabric of these communities, leading to the loss of cultural heritage and identity. The legacy of these lost communities is a reminder of the ongoing struggle for environmental and social justice in the United States. It is important to remember the stories of these communities and to honor their memory, as well as to work towards preventing similar tragedies from occurring in the future. Efforts have been made in recent years to preserve the memory of these lost communities. Historical markers have been erected, and oral histories have been recorded. In some cases, communities have even been able to return to the land that was once their home, although this is a rare occurrence. The loss of African American communities due to dam construction is a tragic and often overlooked aspect of American history. It is a reminder that the impact of environmental policies and decisions can have far-reaching consequences on marginalized communities. By remembering and honoring the memory of these lost communities, we can work towards a more just and equitable future. Another example of a lost African American community due to dam construction is the town of Jacksonburg, West Virginia. Jacksonburg was a vibrant community with a population of over 400 people, many of whom were African American. The town had a post office, a school, and several businesses, including a grocery store, a sawmill, and a blacksmith shop. In 1944, the construction of the United States Army Corps of Engineers Tygart Lake Dam began, and the town of Jacksonburg was flooded to create the reservoir. The residents of the town were forced to relocate, and the town was lost forever. The story of Jacksonburg is not unique. Many other African American communities across the country were lost due to dam construction, including the town of Allensworth, California. Allensworth was founded in 1908 by African American settlers who were seeking to establish a community where they could own land and be free from discrimination. The town of Allensworth thrived for several decades, and by the 1920s, it had over 300 residents. However, in 1963, the California State Water Project began construction of the San Luis Dam, and the town was flooded to create the San Luis Reservoir. The residents of Allensworth were forced to relocate, and the town was lost forever. The loss of these African American communities is a tragic reminder of the historical and ongoing impacts of systemic racism and discrimination. These communities were often targeted for destruction because they were seen as less valuable or expendable. The loss of these communities also highlights the importance of preserving cultural heritage and identity, and of working towards environmental justice for all communities, particularly those that are marginalized. Efforts are underway to honor the memory of these lost communities. In 2004, the Allensworth State Historic Park was established to preserve the history of the town of Allensworth. Similarly, the Tygart Lake State Park in West Virginia is home to a historical marker that commemorates the town of Jacksonburg. In conclusion, the loss of African American communities due to dam construction is a tragic and often overlooked aspect of American history. These communities were destroyed or displaced, and the loss of their cultural heritage and identity is an ongoing tragedy. By preserving the memory of these lost communities, we can work towards a more just and equitable future for all.